بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم افتح علينا بحكمتك وانشر علينا برحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله عدد كمال الله كما يليق بكماله. يا عليم علمنا من علمك ما ترضى به عنا ولا تؤاخذنا بما تعلمه منا. يا حليم خلقنا بخلق الحلم وحققنا بحقائق العلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Today, inshallah, we will begin with verse 4. And he says here on page 6, يا أيها العبد الضعيف المذنب المرتجي تصحيح عقد يجب. يا أيها العبد الضعيف المذنب المرتجي تصحيح عقد يجب. So he says, servant of God, weak and wrongful, hoping to set right a belief that is binding. أول ما على العباد قد وجب معرفة الباري ورسل انتخب. The first of what is obligatory for God's servants is knowledge of the Creator and messengers God has chosen. فواجب لربنا الوجود قدمه ثم البقى الممدود. Thus, it is necessary that our Lord have existence. This is the first attribute that we will discuss, necessary existence. 1, pre-existence. 2, then 3, everlastingness, extended into infinity. So, inshallah, we will try to talk about that today. Here he now, after his very beautiful introduction, in which he introduces us to himself, and by which we know that he is worthy as a teacher, and that we can have confidence in him. He has to show us who he is. Then he gives us the first article of faith, which we talked about yesterday, and probably not sufficiently, but perhaps we'll come back to that if need be. And that is that God created everything from nothing. And then he gave us special distinction by being believers in the greatest of all creation. You know, the greatest of all those who have preeminence. Those who have preeminence in creation, who are the messengers and the prophets and the archangels and so forth. So of all those, the greatest of them is our Prophet ﷺ. So this is our claim to honor. This is what we take pride in. And then he invokes salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, as is proper. And now he turns to me, and he turns to you, and he tells me what I am. Ya ayyuhal abdul da'iful muznibu. O servant of God, weak and wrongful. You know your Lord by knowing yourself. And so he wants to put that element in there, that if you truly want to know your Lord, and as Sidi Sheikh Walid said, he wants you to apply this. He doesn't want to teach you this as simply theoretical or philosophical knowledge. You know your Lord so that you can worship your Lord, and so that you can imbibe this reality and you can live this reality. And this also requires that you know yourself. And the knowledge of yourself is an essential part of the knowledge of your Lord. But of all the things that you know about yourself, you are an amazing creature. You are a microcosm. You are the center of the universe. You live on this earth, and this earth is really where it is at. We talk about that more, but you are the son or the daughter of Adam. You have a very special role, and in you is all of creation. But this is not where we begin. We begin by, my qualities, which are qualities of servanthood, are that I am ajiz, totally incapable. That I am da'if, weak. That I am dhalil, insignificant. And that I am faqir, totally dependent, poor and dependent. And I am ignorant. These are my attributes. I do not create anything. I do not have any essential qualities that make me better than anything in creation or different from anything in creation. So, I have to know this about myself. If I think that, no, I have this attribute and that attribute, and I'm special in this regard, and if we take this exam, I can make a better score than other people in the class, this is a type of delusion. Indeed, everyone in this room has been given great gifts, but that's what they are. They're great gifts, they're great trusts. And our reality, our essential reality, is that we are weak and deficient. And when you know that, and to the degree that we know that, we begin to see how wondrously Allah Azza wa Jal works with us. That He gives you words to speak. He gives you eyes to see. He gives you the ability to see the truth and to distinguish between it and falsehood. He gives you knowledge and lets you use that. These are all gifts, and they are signs of His grace upon us. They are signs of the way that He is moving us. Okay, so we have to know ourselves, and we know ourselves in our weakness. We know ourselves in our essential debility. So here, He's told us before that we have special distinction. We have special distinction in that we believe in the best of all creation, and we belong to His ummah, and inshallah we have His intercession, which is the greatest of all intercessions on the Day of Judgment. And the hadith of the great intercession of the Prophet ﷺ is an authentic hadith which is widely transmitted. So this is a wonderful thing. But still, when I come back to myself, this is the truth about me. Ya ayyuhal abdul da'if. I am a servant. That's a great honor. This is what I want to realize. I want to realize ubudiyya. I want to realize my servanthood to God, my complete dependence on Him. I want to turn myself over to Him completely. And ana da'if. I am weak. Whatever strength I may appear to have, or health or well-being, this is a gift. This is an accident. This is a secondary attribute that comes and it can go just like that. I have no control over it. Your heart beats, and it beats from one moment to another. What will stop it? What will keep it from stopping? Okay, I have no control over that. I have to breathe. And I have to breathe in the next moment and the moment after that. Okay, this is our reality. We are weak and we are totally dependent. We are fuqara. We are fuqara ilallah. And the more that you see that about yourself, and the more that we are honest in looking in this mirror of ourselves, then you will see the grace of God upon you. He gave you these eyes with which to see. He gave you these ears with which to hear. He gave you this heart, this mind with which you do whatever you do as an engineer or a physician or a teacher or whatever you may be, a mother, whatever you may be. This is purely His gift and nothing more. And you have to see that. and I am also muznib, wrongful. We are people who strive to live by the outer law. And we strive to eat what is halal and to drink what is halal and to put aside everything that is haram. And we have to guard with muraqabah, like a guard that preserves a house or a family at night. We have to guard what we look at, what we hear, what we say, what we smell, what we touch. We want that all to be halal. We want that all to be good, because all of that is connected to my heart. If we look at anything we want to look at, then we put things in our heart that will destroy it. If we listen to anything that we want to listen to, just because it sounds good, then we will destroy, the heart, that we have. The heart is extremely susceptible. So it's very important, what we look at, what we hear. But nevertheless, even though you and I and all of us, bi'iznillahi ta'ala, we strive to lead a good life and to be upright and live within the limits of the law, what day, whenever in my life, have I fulfilled the rights of my Lord upon me? Never. He has made us distinctive in creation. He has created us to worship Him and to know Him. And He has given us gifts that He's given no other creature on earth. When have I ever been a human being? When have I ever fulfilled that? What do I deserve? When can I go back to my Lord and say that I deserve that you forgive me? I deserve that you put me into paradise? Never. And all of our actions are defective. Even when we pray the best that we can, even when we do dhikr in the highest spiritual state, to the extent that I'm involved in that with my ego, it is a defective action. So this is the best thing for me to think about myself, that I am muznib, not that I'm muttaqi. May Allah make every man and woman in this room muttaqi, that we are people who follow this taqwa that Shaykh Zarruq talks about, and that we have wara', we have scrupulousness, we have istiqamah and uprightness, but nevertheless we always fall short. That's why, as Sidi Shaykh Walid said, who am I to say anything bad about a dog or a cat or even a pig? They do what they're supposed to do. They never cease to do what a dog is supposed to do, or a cat is supposed to do, or a pig is supposed to do. They are part of God's creation. They do that perfectly. When have I ever done what a human being is supposed to do? What claim could I ever have to being a real human being, the kind that our Prophet ﷺ was and taught us to be? So here he begins with this, and this is not an insult. This is not condescension. That, how do you address me like this? You don't know me. Maybe I've never missed a prayer in my lifetime. What do you say about me? No, really. That this is who I am. And I need to ask Allah's forgiveness continually. And we ask Allah to make us pure servants. Tasawwuf, the path of ihsan is nothing but that. It is the quest to be the pure servant of God, the absolute servant of God, and to fulfill the rights of His Lordship. That's all it is, beginning and end. To be the real servant of God, as we ought to be, and to worship God as He ought to be worshipped, and to serve Him as He ought to be served. So this is his address to us, and then he says, Al-murtaji tashiha aqdin yajibu. So how do we translate that? Hoping to set right a belief that is binding. So when he says murtaji, he means you who have raja, you who have hope. And raja is in Arabic a very high and positive hope. There are different types of hope. Some types of hope are wishful thinking. Some types of hope are fantasy and nonsense, make-believe. But raja is not. Raja is good hope. And it is good hope because of the fact that it is based in action. It is based in action. And so he's calling you a murtaji. He's calling you a person of good hope. Why? Because you're sitting here. And you have a good opinion of me. May Allah make me at least halfway worthy of that. And you have a good opinion of this excellent man. That's an act of worship. That is one of the highest acts of worship of all, to have a good opinion of God and a good opinion of creation. So you have this beautiful opinion. May Allah forgive us, and may He make us worthy of that. But you think that if you come and sit with us, that you will get knowledge. And may you get that knowledge by the greatness of God, by your beautiful intention. But that is raja. I want this. I hope to get this. I hope to fulfill this obligation, to have a correct and corrected faith in God. And so therefore, I will sit at the feet of scholars, and I will learn that. That's a wonderful thing to do, and that is raja. So raja is when we hope to have something, and we do what is necessary to get that. And these are the two sandals with which we walk. We walk with the sandal of raja, of hope, based on the fact that you made wudu and you prayed your prayer and you prayed 5 prayers a day and you fasted the fast of Ramadan and you're going to do it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala in a few days, and you dress properly, you eat properly, you guard your eyes, you guard your ears, you try to make your private life better than your public life. That's the whole secret. In public it's very difficult to do things wrong. People will see you, they'll talk about you. But in private, what do we do? And when we turn on the internet, what do we look at? Our private lives have got to be better than our public lives. And when they're not, it means that I'm totally unaware of my Lord. And I'm totally confused by the nature of creation. But my Lord is with me at all times. The angels are with me at all times. There is no private space for me. And the courtesy that we have in public, it should also be the courtesy that we have in private. The other sandal with which we walk is what? It is the sandal of fear, of khawf. And many people used to translate taqwa as fear of God, but then there were certain people who felt that wasn't politically correct. It's perfectly politically correct to fear God. If you don't fear God, you don't know God. And anyone who believes that the Sufi path is the one that liberates them from fear of God, and now everything is all right and you have the keys of paradise, that is absolute illusion. The arifin, the knowers of God, live in fear of Him like the angels. يُسَبِّحُ الرَّعْدُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ مِنْ خِيفَتِهِ. The thunder glorifies His praises. This is also, when you say dhikr, you are like thunder. You're saying, Subhanallah. It's like boom, thunder across the horizons. That's what it's like. Some of the awliya said, if you could hear your name being written on the tablet of light when you make dhikr, you would die from ecstasy. When you say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, the angels in the 7th heaven are writing your name as a dhakir or a dhakira on the tablet of light. If you could hear the pen move, the ecstasy of that would make you wouldn't be able to live. You would be overwhelmed by joy. This is a great thing. This is a great thing. But, the knowledge of God is also the fear of God in His majesty. And He deserves to be feared. And He deserves to be obeyed. He is the Lord of the garden. He is the Lord of beauty, and He is the Lord of the fire. And the garden and the fire are absolute truth. They're not metaphors, and they're not stories for children, and they're not just moral instigations. They are cosmic realities that are and must be. So we believe in that. Mashallah, I've been a Muslim for 42 years. And, this is my life. From the time that I embraced Islam, and alhamdulillah, I never hesitated. Malcolm X, I read the autobiography all night long. It was a Friday night, all night long. Didn't even go to bed that night, all night. And then when dawn came, about 7 a.m., Ithaca, New York, January the 2nd, 1970. I remember because that's my mother's birthday. I put down the book, I go and open, the curtains and look out of my apartment over Lake Cayuga, beautiful in Ithaca. And it was a sunny day, which happens once a year in Ithaca, New York. They say it's a good place to go to commit suicide. And I open it, it's a brilliant day, and there's new snow everywhere. There's like maybe 3 feet of snow everywhere, beautiful. And then I sat down and what did you learn from this book? And I hadn't finished it yet, but I finished Hajj. And it's I learned that Allah and God are the same. Again, for me, that's a big thing. Even though I knew it in my mind. I'd studied about the Ottoman Turks. I'd studied about Muslim Spain. I had written a research paper on the Kingdom of Mali and the African roots of American black slaves. And I was amazed by what I saw. And I was amazed about how rational Islamic theology was. And I even looked at the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, wanting to know, how would you pronounce that? And it's all alliterated. It's all L's. It must be beautiful. But that wouldn't do it. That wouldn't bring me into Islam. It didn't touch my heart. But then with Malcolm, that's different. And then Malcolm, it's this is the way. You've got to follow this. Islam is the religion that abolishes fear. Those are the words that hooked me. Because I had lots of fears about creation, about the future, death. That was a big fear. And many people have that. And then I put the book down. Allah and God are the same. And God exists. He guided Malcolm very clearly in the book. And then Allah moved me for the first time to pray like a Christian. I hadn't prayed for 6 years. And to pray to God, and this weight came out of my body like an anvil of lead and went over my head. And I began to cry. And I was filled with these powerful emotions and everything. I mean, this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. So this was my life. And as Mawlaya al-Arabi al-Darqawi says, when the meanings first come to you, they come like mountains. So take them like mountains. This is really important. When we study this aqeedah, you're given meanings. Necessary existence. Possible existence. The nature of pre-existence and temporality. These are huge. So you take that mountain. When you see that mountain, you take it. You put it in your heart, and it will always be a mountain. And he says that if you don't take the meaning when it first comes to you like a mountain, then it will go away. And then when it comes back, it doesn't come back like a mountain. It will come back maybe like an ox. And then maybe you can still get it, although an ox is not like a mountain. And they move, and they may even fight. But if you get it, then you've got it. And if you don't, it will go away. And then if it comes back, maybe it comes back like a cat. And if you don't take it then and it goes away, maybe it will come back as a bird. How are you going to get the bird? So this is really important. That's why in your life we are tested. We always come to crossroads where Allah shows you the truth. And it's like, my servant, which way do you go now at the crossroads? Will you go to the right? Will you go to the left? And if you choose to go right, then He will lift you up and He will guide you. But, we are here with the hope of getting deep belief, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. May Allah facilitate me to be able to give you something that does that. I don't have the possibility, I don't have the ability to do that, but may Allah make that possible through me, through the barakah, of His guidance, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. So this is hope, that we are doing the kind of things that we need to do in order to get our aqeedah right. And this is the first obligation. أول ما على العباد قد وجب معرفة الباري ورسل انتخب. The first of all obligations upon God's servants is what? To know your Lord and to know the messengers and the prophets. This is the first obligation. And our scholars have some differences about that. Some of them would say that the first obligation is to reflect on creation and to do that to get knowledge of God. But essentially there is an agreement there. The first of all obligations is Iman. The first of all obligations is to know God and to believe in God and to know the messengers and to believe in the messengers. And that's more important than to know how to make wudu. It's more important than to know how to make salat. It's more important than to know how to fast. But this doesn't mean that we put off learning to make wudu and fasting and praying and what is halal and what is haram until we learn the proper aqeedah. No, we don't do that. In fact, the Prophet taught us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to enjoin our children to pray when they're how old? 7, because 7 is usually the magic age when the child begins to have the rudiments of intellect, and then to force them to do it when they're 13. This is training. This is training because that child is now able to pray and they've got to start praying, even though it's not obligatory for them. But by this, they get accustomed to it. They learn how to do it. They can sit in the right posture. And then by the time that they are obliged to pray, which might be when they're even 18 years old or 15, could be earlier than that. But when that comes with maturity, with biological maturity, then they're able to do it. And with intellect, then they're able to do it. And it's a habit. Many times today we don't do that. We just let our children play, especially if they're boys. If they're girls, no. The girls, we're really rough on girls. That's probably why there's so many women here. They've been disciplined. We've been allowed to do whatever we want. We don't have to iron clothes or wash dishes or clean up after people. You're a boy. Do whatever you want, but, they're the ones that they often bear the brunt. So they get disciplined. Maybe that's what's behind it. I don't know. But in any case, when we come of age, then we're able to pray bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. But the first obligation, and the one that takes priority over everything else, is to know our Lord and to know the prophets. And these are the two basic elements of the Islamic faith that the creed that we're teaching. This creed, as we've said before, and as we emphasize, is only the foundation. And therefore, it is a legal knowledge of God. It is a knowledge of God that is dictated by the proofs of the law, by the proofs of revelation. And here the word ma'rifah, which is also the word for direct experiential knowledge of God, is used. But this is because this is the seed of ma'rifah. This is where it comes from. There's no way that you will ever get to your Lord, and you will never know your Lord unless you get this right. This is necessary. You have got to know this. And we don't ever contradict this. The great arifun, they will tell you things that you never imagined about the necessary, the possible, and the impossible. They will tell you things about necessary existence that would have never occurred to the heart of a human being. They will go into great depths, but it's all based on this This is the foundation upon which they build their palaces, of truth and of light. And this is essentially that we learn about God 13 necessary attributes. One of them is ontological, meaning that it pertains to the very essence of the existence of God, the very essence of God. And this is the first one, which we're going to do today, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, which is necessary existence. Necessary existence. This is the first and the foremost of all the attributes, especially for the Ash'aris. For the Maturidis, they would prefer probably to put qidam, pre-existence. The Maturidis emphasize qidam. They also talk about necessary existence, but the Maturidis who follow Imam Abu Hanifa is the king. Fiqh al-Akbar is an incredible book. And the whole Maturidi school comes out of the transmission of Abu Hanifa. It's a beautiful school, absolutely beautiful school. But the Maturidis, they will prefer to use language which is used in the Quran and Hadith. And they will talk about necessary existence. The Ash'aris make that very prominent, necessary existence, especially the later Ash'aris. But necessary existence, then we have after that 5 negative attributes. And the 5 negative attributes are all necessary too. Necessary pre-existence. Necessary everlastingness. Necessary dissimilitude. Is that what we've said here? Dissimilitude? Dissimilarity, yeah. Because in Spanish we say dissimilitud, right? So I was in Spain, I was teaching this in Spanish, in Castellano. And so dissimilarity is what we say, right? Dissimilarity. That God is totally unlike anything in creation. And then we have self-sufficiency and oneness. These are negative attributes. Why are they called negative? We'll talk about that when we get there. Then you have 7 positive attributes. And these are necessary: life, knowledge, will, power, hearing, seeing, and speech. Okay, and these 13 attributes are the foundation. They are a matter of consensus. They are clearly established in the Quran and the Sunnah and pure reason and experience. And they are the minimum, not the maximum. The attributes of God are infinite. He doesn't have just 13 attributes. Allah has infinite attributes. But these are the arkan. These are the ummahat. These are the foundations. And you must understand every one. You must internalize every one. You must be able to make them meaningful in your heart. You can't just do taqleed here, which is that, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf said this, so I follow it. Or I said it, so you follow it. No, that's not enough. You've got to know that this is right, that this is cogent. And then you put it in your heart, and you've got to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to defend your faith. From whom? Shaitan. You've got to be able to defend it from your nafs, your ego with all of its doubts, all of its misgivings, all of its complications. And you've got to be able to defend yourself also to the people around you. Why do you believe in God? How do you believe in God? Are you medieval? I would love to live in the Middle Ages, but I'm not medieval. If I could live in some of these beautiful houses they lived in Spain and Portugal, or here in the Ottoman Empire, yeah, that was civilization. That was real advancement. But Allah has infinite attributes. But these 13, they are the ummahat. They are the mothers, meaning the foundations. Everything goes back to them. And by understanding them, inshallah, we have a sound understanding of our Lord. Then we have to understand that all of these attributes which are necessary in pure intellect, in pure reason, and based on revelation and experience, that their contraries and their opposites are impossible. They do not exist. They cannot exist. We will never affirm their existence. And then we must also know what is possible with regard to God, meaning what is possible in the realm of creation. What may he do? What is his prerogative as Lord of the worlds? These are very important things. This is what we'll talk about. And our scholars believe in our traditions that you must know this, and that you must understand this, that you must internalize it. May Allah enable us to do that. So he says, فَوَاجِبٌ لِرَبِّنَا الْوُجُودُ. Thus, it is necessary that our Lord have existence. When he says that it's necessary that God exist, what does he mean by that? God has no need. God doesn't need anything. God needs to exist. What does that mean? Here he is using the language of pure reason. And the language of pure reason is the hallmark of our creed, whether we are Ash'aris or Maturidis or whatever we may be. It's very important. And pure reason has three judgments. And these are necessary, possible, and impossible. The nature of pure reason is that it looks to the essence of things. It is a shadow of the gift that was given to Adam, that God taught him the names of all things. And the names of things, especially in a language like Arabic or any other primordial language, the names of things tell you the realities of the things. They point to the essence of the thing. And so he could say, this is this, and it has these attributes. So pure reason, whenever it is given a proposition, it will be able to say, without relying on customary experience, that this is necessary, it must be. Or that this is possible, it may be and it may not be. But other things, it will say, this is impossible. It cannot exist. Okay, this is the way that the pure intellect or pure reason works. And we have to train ourselves because we are deficient usually in this regard. That if you don't use a part of your body or your mind, it atrophies. If you don't use your arms, they become weak. Maybe you can't even move them. They atrophy. So also with the intellect, that we come out of a culture which is totally and tyrannically empirical. We only are told that things are valid if we can see them, if we can hear them, if we can touch them or taste them or smell them. This is the lowest level of knowledge. It is the most inexact. We were talking yesterday about the Doppler effect and Hubble's laws and the expansion of the universe theory and also thermodynamics. And these sound like pretty strong proofs to people with empirical training, and they are, as is quantum mechanics and other things. These are big things, but they're filled with all sorts of assumptions. If you compare them to what we get from pure reason, they are not on the same level at all. Because there's so many things we don't understand about the nature of time and space and light and things like that in the universe. We're making a lot of assumptions about the uniformity, of nature and other things like that. And inshallah, these are valid and very useful proofs. Although some people would now question whether the laws of thermodynamics work the same in the earth as they do in the universe. There are questions like that. These debates go on. But, the intellect has these three judgments: necessary, possible, and impossible. And one of the roots of belief is to know the necessity of the necessary, the possibility of the possible, and the impossibility of the impossible. Three rules. And when we say that God's existence is necessary, we mean by that it is obligatory for our minds to affirm that he has an existence which is uncaused, which has no beginning, and which therefore has no end, which is above causation, which is beyond time and space, which is utterly different, and that depends on nothing whatsoever. Okay, and this is the realization that we have by contemplating the nature of possible being, which is the existence of all these things that exist in the world. Okay, so it is necessary for me to affirm that God has this. But this is God's reality, and his name, or one of his names, that expresses his necessary existence is Al-Haq. Al-Haq, which means he whose existence is mutahaqqiq, he whose existence is realized perfectly and fully in every moment without beginning and without end. That's what Al-Haq means. He whose existence is mutahaqqiq, in every moment, fully realized, with complete perfection, without beginning, without end. Okay, this is his name. This is his reality. This is his right. This is who he is. But when our minds contemplate reality properly, then we must affirm this, even though we can never understand this. Just like every triangle in a Euclidean geometry is going to have 180 degrees, and they don't differ in China, and they won't differ on the face of the moon. That's just the way it is. That is necessary. In Euclidean space, the triangle's always going to be like that. If you go into another world where you have curved space, then you have different kinds of triangles, but not in the Euclidean universe. Okay? So this is a necessity. And I would like to repeat again what my teacher, Habib al-Haddad, may Allah be pleased with him, Ahmed Mashur, may Allah be pleased with him, the most beautiful human being I ever knew in my life. Never known a more beautiful human being. He is the embodiment of the light of the Prophet ﷺ. Really, I mean, he is a beautiful man. And he used to always say this. He said, the disbeliever is confused by creation. And creation is amazing. I mean, what we talked about, the expansion theory of the universe, Big Bang theory, the atom, you know what the atom is like. I mean, this is atomic theory, we've never seen one. But, if we were to build a model of the atom here, making the nucleus, let's say, as big as my fist, then the orbit of the electron would probably be half a football field away from here. On all sides. And the electron would be so small you couldn't see it. And the electron goes around the nucleus 10 billion times in 1/1,000,000th of a second. What is that? That is muhayyir, right? Here you have knocked on the door of majesty, and God has let you see through the veil. This is matter. All the weight in that atom is in that tiny nucleus, that if we had a whole football field here and a football field that way, and we had this little nucleus in it, and we had that orbit of the electron, which is like a dot going around it 10 billion times in 1/1,000,000th of a second, of course you wouldn't be able to go into the field. It would appear solid. And the weight of it is just in that nucleus. But the reality is that this doesn't exist. We would say that there's nothing in the football field. There's nothing there. There's just that tiny nucleus. and around it the electron going, whirling at the speed of light, 10 billion circuits in 1/1,000,000th of a second. How can that be? This is the power of Allah. As we said, everything in the created world, every effect, every secondary cause, is a veil of the power of God. And that's what you see in the atom. And look at the power that is there. That if you divide that atom, what's going to happen? Catastrophic energy is released, right? Chaos. This is not the sunnah of God. This is the sunnah of God that you can do that. But you can't do this without permission. You have to know whether this is allowed or not, and under what circumstances it is or it isn't. We don't play with the sunnah of Allah. We only enter into the sunnah of Allah in DNA, genetic modifications, all of these things. If we have permission through the sunnah of the Messenger of God, and we know that if we open the door, we can close it again. Never open a door that you don't know how to close, and never close a door that you don't know how to open. So the world is amazing, and the intelligent human being is confused, confounded by the world around them. But the believer, as Habib al-Haddad would say, is confounded by the Creator. I am confounded not by the atom, but by the Creator of the atom, who keeps it existing moment from moment, 1/1,000,000th of a second from 1/1,000,000th of a second. This is absolutely a miracle. So this is what we, believe. And here, again, to believe, we allow our reason to fly. And it follows rules. There are rules to the way that we use our reason. But whenever we come to these things, like positing necessary existence, then we do that as an article of faith. It's there in the revelation, it's there in pure intellect, it's also there in experience. Okay, so we put that down and we hold it. This is why also, to be a Muslim is an organic reality. That we have deep sanity. We have deep sanity that we get from following the sunnah of the most perfect of all creation. And I live my life, as Sheikh Walid said, according to 5 basic rules. That this is obligatory, I must do it. And I do it, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. And this is forbidden, and I do not do it. And I will not do it, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. Okay, this is the way I live, and this is the way you live. This is the way we live. And then this is mandub, this is commendable. So if I do it, it's praiseworthy. If I don't, then you won't blame me, nor will my Creator. But I would like to do this, it's commendable. And this is reprehensible. So if I do it, you can't blame me, nor will my Creator, but I shouldn't do it. And then the other things are permissible in the middle. My life is like that, your life is like that. This is the way we dress, this is the way we eat, this is the way we drink, this is the way we live. And then when we come into the world of the intellect, we can hold to its rules. So if this is necessary by intellect, this is true. We affirm it. And the fact that I cannot ever understand necessary existence, I can never understand or fathom any of the necessary attributes of Allah. That does not confound me, because He is the one I worship. He is the one I know. I know Him through prayer. I know Him through fasting. We know Him through leading the pure, good life that you lead. And this cultivates in us strength, and strength of intellect as well. So we are very sane people if we are sound Muslims. We have deep sanity. And part of that deep sanity is that we believe in the necessity of the necessary. And we affirm the impossibility of the impossible. There can be an infinite number of universes. The intellect says possible. He is Rabbul Alameen. He is the Lord of the world. You don't know how many worlds He has. That's His affair, not mine. But in all the possible universes that there may be, there can only be one God. That is necessary truth, and we'll talk about that, especially when we come to will. because God's will pertains to all possibilities and all possible universes. There is no universe where another God could be. Not possible. Rejected. Totally out of hand. He is one. Ahad. This is his truth in revelation and in reason and in experience as well. Okay, so we hold to that. And this is really what makes you special. As Imam al-Shadhili said, may Allah be pleased with him, if you could open the heart of the disobedient believer, the one who eats pork or drinks some wine, or looks at things on the internet that he or she shouldn't look at, or doesn't pray, but does believe nevertheless, they're just weak and they're wrongful, that the light of their hearts would blind the universe. What then is the likeness of your heart, who is a believer who does what is right and keeps the light inside? The universe would melt, because you are a secret. You are very special. You are meant to be the wali of Allah. You're a believer. All of the believers are awliya. But the awliya have a very special place in this universe, and that is creed. And inshallah we'll come to that. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay? So we believe in these things, and we can hold that. And this is the thing that the disbeliever almost cannot do. And you can read, I know Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayya, may Allah be pleased with him. We were together for 16 years in the same department. I would study with him, I would visit him. He was my colleague, my teacher, my friend. And he would read books about astronomy where astronomers talk about the greatness of the universe. And it's like they come to the point of belief in God, but they can't make the leap. They can't make the leap of faith. It's like, what? This is not possible. And it's like, this is because you don't have the right lifestyle and you don't have a strong mind. We have the right lifestyle. And we live properly, we eat properly. The Sharia is your diet. If you feed a cow corn, it gets sick. It's not made to eat corn. It will get fat. And it will produce maybe tasty meat. But it's a ruminator. It's made to eat grass. And it has the right by the Sharia to do that. And its stomach should be pure of ulcers. These cattle that are sacrificed today, their stomachs are full of ulcers. I've seen it myself. Ugly, terrible, But we eat what is right, and we eat what is pure. And we should also eat animals that are organic and that are pure. Sheep that are raised outside, that are able to see the sun. And chickens, that are happy. I went to visit this organic farm in Massachusetts with a Muslim brother named Bilal. He just became a Muslim. Beautiful brother. He has maybe 500 organic chickens. Beautiful chickens. And when you go in the field, they don't even come up to see you because they have everything they need. If chickens come up to see you in the field, it means they don't have everything they need because they know that you feed them and we're missing something. We don't know what it is, but you do. Like maybe they need a little bit of protein in their diet that they don't get. Really, chickens are amazing. And these chickens are the most beautiful red chickens you've ever seen. Their eggs are medicine. You can take a pure chicken egg and eat it straight. It'll cure you. Don't ever do that with the eggs you buy you'll die of salmonella, right? But, we are people who eat right. We live right. And so therefore, our intellects can hold to what is right. And I can be confounded in my Lord, prostrate my head on the floor and cry all night and love my Lord, but never doubt for a minute. And the creation for me, like Sidi Walid said, we turn our backs on it. Because what can it give me? My Lord gives me everything. And when you turn your back on the creation, what happens? It comes running after you. Let's stop here and we'll see if we can take some questions. How much time do we have? I used it all probably.
About 5 minutes, inshallah.
5 minutes. Okay, so any hand questions?
Yes, there's one over there.
So. Okay, so this question is about the heart of the believer blinding the world. This is not Imam al-Haddad, by the way. The person put Imam al-Haddad. This is Imam al-Shadhili, the great Shaykh al-Shadhili. May Allah be pleased with him. But Allah says, Azza wa Jal, in a holy hadith, hadithun Qudsi, He says that the heavens and earth do not contain me, but the heart of my believing servant contains me. We do not continue to approach Him by what is obligatory. That's the most important thing. You've got to pray 5 times a day, every day. And you've got to make it up if you didn't do it. That's the fact. That's the bitter pill, right? Because we're supposed to start praying when we are mukallaf, which is like maybe 15, could be 18, it could be younger. It's a duty to pray from that time. And if you don't do it, you've got to make it up. That's hard, isn't it? Because many of us, we don't start to pray until we're 27, 25, out of college. Now I'll start to pray. No, I'm sorry, but Allah doesn't accept that. You're going to have to make that up. But we approach Allah by what is obligatory. And in the Maliki school, if you haven't done the obligatory prayers, you don't pray Taraweeh. And you don't pray Sunnah, because that doesn't make up anything. You make up those. You do Dhuhr, you do Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Subh, Dhuhr. Just like you've got to sit down and work it out. How many thousand prayers do I owe, right? And you've got to keep a record. I remember when I began to study fiqh seriously with my sheikh, then I made a list of all kinds of prayers to make up, and I spent maybe 3 years making up prayers. I used to pray, but it's like, I'm not happy with that. I don't recommend that you do that, by the way. But it's just like, I want to do these again. But then He does not continue to draw closer to me until I become the eyes with which He sees, the ears with which He hears, the hand with which He grasps, the foot with which He walks, the heart, the fu'ad with which He perceives, the tongue with which He speaks. That's the wali of Allah, the great wali of Allah, like Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, like Mawlana al-Chishti, like Imam al-Shadhili, like Naqshband, Baha'uddin Naqshband. These people, that's their reality. They are the pivots of the world, really and truly. Inshallah, maybe we'll be able to speak about that in greater depth when we come to it. We believe in the awliya. You must believe in the awliya. And they have a very special role in creation. You are the life of the world. You are the life, but you've got to believe, Ya ayyuhal abdul da'if al-mudhnib. That's who I am. I'm weak. I am wrongful. Okay, but if you get on that foundation sincerely, then, you become the life of the world. The world today, the environment, the seas are on the verge of extinction. Extinction like nothing we've seen since the dinosaurs. We may not have tuna in 50 years. Could even be less than that. We are like, who is like us? We overfished the seas. And now the fish are not there. And a lot of these fish, they have to have a certain population density to be able to reproduce. If you lower them below that density, the fact that a few million are still out there, they'll die off. They've got to be able to school. They've got to be able to come together. We're ruining the water. Now we're fracking the oil, destroying everything. The United States I was born in, a long time ago. I won't tell you how long ago. But I visited it all. I camped in all of it. In the Appalachian Mountains, I go there at least every month. And all the water we saw, we could drink. All the fish we caught, we could eat. Now you can't drink any of the water. Now you don't dare eat the fish. They're full of mercury. And what have we done? But this is not just because of industrialization and pollution. This is also because of the fact that human beings have ceased to be human. Once we become human, which is to mean to be believers, who know Allah, who love Allah, who serve Allah, and whose hearts are alive and filled with light. And you don't ever let that light escape. If you look at the haram, you lose light. If you listen to the haram, you lose light. This is muraqabah. Then you become the life of the world. That's why when the likes of you dies, the whales in the sea will cry. The birds and the trees will cry because they know you and they love you. You are the wali of Allah. Okay, so this is what he's talking about there.
We have a sister with a mic on the side with a
Okay.
question.
You have touched on a subject of the astronomy, and there's a verse in the Quran that I was always puzzled by it, and it says, ألا أقسم بمواقع النجوم وهو قسم لو تعلمون عظيم.
وإنه لقسم لو تعلمون
وإن لقل قسم لو تعلمون عظيم. I would love if you could elaborate on that.
Well, you asked the wrong person. You want to ask that question to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. That's the one. I mean, I could talk about that. But when Sheikh Hamza Yusuf comes tonight, you ask him that question. And we'll all thank you. Because you have to ask that question to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. Then he will really give you an answer that would just be out of this world. This is a man who loves the stars, and the stars love him. No question about that. Yeah.
We do not have any more time for
I'm
questions.
sorry about that. I'm going to try to stop on time so that we can have more questions, inshallah. Allahumma waffiqna lima tuhibbuhu wa tarda. وجعلنا من عبيدك السعداء وأمتنا على كلمة الهدى علمنا ما ينفعنا ووفقنا للعمل بما علمتنا به واجعل ما نحن فيه خالصا مخلصا لوجهك الكريم اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا بعده تفرقا معصوما لا شقيا منا ولا محروما آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. Very happy to be in your company. And as I said, honestly, I came here to be in your company. You are very special people. That's my belief. If you go to Spain, I'll come to Spain. You go to Malaysia, I'll go to Malaysia. You come back to Turkey, I'll be happy to come back to Turkey. Inshallah, Allah bless you all. And may your hearts be filled with light and life. And may you go back and transform. Ameen.